G'day, I'm Owen. You've joined the pub test. And in this one, we are looking at the Mary Kelly inquest. And this will be a short video. And that might sound absolutely surprising because it was the last of the official Jack the Ripper victims and the very worst crime that happened. And yet this inquest didn't go very long, and virtually no police or law enforcement were called to it. And there was a little bit of intrigue right at the beginning of it. Now, we're not going to dive into Joseph Barnett and some of the other people who were called to the inquest to give their testimony. We have covered that in previous videos, but we are also going to be diving into the crime scene. That's still in the works, and so I'm not sure how many videos that is going to be, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, but there's a lot to unpack there. But the inquest itself is fascinating. So let's get straight into it. I think it's safe to say we've got a different coroner than what we had at the other crimes, and there's a reason for that. And it's explained right at the start. Because one of the jurors comes in and says, "What on earth are we doing here? We have nothing to do with Whitechapel. This crime happened in Whitechapel." And they said, "No, it didn't happen in Whitechapel. Yeah, Mary Kelly's murder happened in Spitalfields." And I hope I'm saying that right. I've said that a few times. Let me know if that's correct. So then a jury member says, "Well, hang on, but we're from the Shoreditch jurisdiction. We've got nothing to do with that." And the coroner says, "Look, we're holding it here because this is my jurisdiction." And he basically then says, "Anyone else got a problem with that? Anyone want to question the jurisdiction of this court right now? No? Good. Let's get on with it." But the coroner and the jury go to the mortuary to inspect the body. And then the press make a thing of it as they're coming back, saying, "Why are you holding this inquest at all? It's not your jurisdiction." Again, jurisdiction was being questioned. He says it does not matter where the body was taken to. It doesn't matter which police force found the body. The body was found in my jurisdiction. I'm holding the inquest. Enough said. Anyone got a problem with that? And so that was the end of the matter, and the inquest went on. And the usual people that normally get mentioned at this inquest are discussed. But now I just want to make a comment here on the attitude of the people. See, these jurors, they'd had enough of it. They're like, what are we doing here? Why are we dealing with this particular crime? Not our problem. Didn't happen in our area. That I find very fascinating. Now, if you remember back to what I stated that I think was the truth behind Jack the Ripper, this sort of lends itself to being perhaps correct, because the papers would have picked up on the fact that these jurors didn't want to be there. They wanted nothing to do with these crimes anymore. The public interest was starting to wane. Yeah, this Mary Kelly crime did make a news cycle, but it fell off a cliff not long after. And I think the attitude of the people was being shown at this particular inquest. And no doubt the press could start reading the room and knowing that this Jack the Ripper story wasn't going to be the golden goose that it was previous. And so they'd have to move on to other stories. In fact, it was this inquest itself that made me start thinking down that path before looking into it any further. It's just that 2 to 3 month real intense interest. I just feel the people didn't want to hear about it anymore. But interestingly, the coroner here, he's heard from about 3 to 4 to 5 witnesses, and then he virtually stops it and says, "Look, do we want to waste any more money on this? Is there any point? We're not the police. We're not here to prosecute any individual or try and work out who did this. Our sole job is to work out what happened." And with Mary Kelly, it was very, very clear what happened. This was not injuries she could have done to herself. So he turns to the jury and says, "Do you reckon you could make up your mind?" Which they do, and return a quick verdict: murder by person or persons unknown. And that was the end of the inquest. Done and dusted. And there is the thought as well that the police also were involved in trying to quell this. They didn't want this inquest to drag out. Because they could also feel that people were getting angry. They'd gone from shock, now they were angry. And if someone was looking like they're going to do the wrong thing, we're going to go after them and we'll take justice into our own hands. There was more than one vigilance committee patrolling the streets, and that no doubt would have had the police a little bit concerned, to say the least. And so it has been suggested that there was pressure from high up in Scotland Yard to get this inquest shut down quickly and not have the whole parade of people like the other inquest did. But that does lead us to what happened at the crime scene, which will be the subject of the next video. So this was a very brief video, but it was designed to paint that picture. How were people feeling about the worst crime in this saga? See, the police thought there'd be lynch mobs out, and perhaps maybe there could have been. But we see from the jury there was just massive indifference. They weren't that concerned about it. Of course, there is the possibility that this coroner had a dinner date with his wife that he wanted to get to, or there was a round of golf just about to start, and so he just wanted this inquest done. And it's like, what am I going to do? I'm not investigating the crime. We know what's happened. You blokes just come back and tell me what you thought happened. That honestly could have been the case as well. But the deep dive into this crime scene will also unearth some very interesting information, so make sure that you stay tuned for that one. Do the like, do the subscribe. I am Owen. You've been watching The Pub Test, and we will see you on the next one.